All right, y'all. Welcome to another episode. We've been in kind of a family series on these podcast episodes, talking about really starting. I don't know where we started, but I guess you do start with like dating.
Yes.
But kind of going through logical timeline of being single, dating, getting married, early marriage, and we're gonna kind of keep going into kids and that sort of thing. But just trying to talk through major stages when it comes to family and building a family and having a family. So we've kind of made our way into early marriage,
Yeah.
kind of thinking through you just got married, and in particular, maybe pre
Yeah.
having kids. So here's kind of how I'll start us off and then throw it to you as we give thoughts on like how do you make the best use of time? How do you make the best of your days? You're just married, you
Yeah.
don't have kids. Um, like how do you think about life? So um uh, I think a lot of time, let me say maybe two quick things and then throw it
Okay.
to you. But it's easy. You were saying you call them like single marrieds or whatever. That when you get married,
Yeah.
obviously it's this massive change in your life. Um, but at the same time, it's kind of like, well, it's two people without kids who are
Yeah.
now doing life together,
Right.
and you still have a lot of the same like freedoms and flexibilities you had when you were single.
Yeah.
You're just now doing it with your spouse.
Yep.
So meaning when you were single, like if you wanted to move across country, change jobs, change careers, like you can make all these wild big decisions
Yes.
and changes with like minimal resistance.
Mm-hmm.
To a certain degree, you can still do that when you're married potentially. Like you and
Right.
your spouse could both come to an agreement and be like, we want to move to Alaska, we want to both change jobs, we want to, and you just do it.
Yeah.
Um, and so one is that when you're newly married in that regard, it can feel similar in flexibility. Like the world is at your fingertips. We could do anything and everything. Like, what's the coolest thing we could do right now
Right.
with
Right.
life and have fun and all that?
Yeah.
Which I think we should touch on. I think pre kids, making a good use of your days by having fun.
Yeah.
But two, I'll say this, that in our wider culture, there's been this big push to abandon family. Your parents don't understand you; they're toxic. They taught you old ways that are
Right.
bad, and abandon them. Don't talk to them ever again. Cut them off. That's kind of like the worst kind of cultural advice.
Right.
But I've seen it in the church, across different denominations, where we don't teach necessarily that, but we kind of have bought into this a little bit of like, be wary of your family.
Mm-hmm.
And in particular, I've seen it when it's taught to couples who are dating, engaged, newly marrieds, that it kind of almost ramps up a bit, because it's like, not only be wary of your family, they've probably like led you astray in different big ways. We'll call something
Right.
toxic that's not toxic.
Right.
But then when you get married, especially, I've almost seen it used maybe accidentally as like a justified way to say, now that you're married, like you're starting over, you're starting this whole new family tree, you've got your new immediate family. So really cut off um, everything regarding uh, your now extended family,
Yeah.
to leave and cleave and start this whole new blank slate family.
Right.
And in that, the result has been, again, it's kind of the same thing.
It's
It's
like
like
you're Adam and Eve again.
you're cutting off your family
Right.
tree to be like, you've got your new immediate
Uh-huh.
family. Don't let your
You're the
in-laws get in the
first.
way of anything.
Yep.
And and y- I don't know if you had mentioned this on or off camera, but like, yes, it's right that a man now has a wife and she comes before his mother.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen that, and that's right and good. But I've seen that get turned into, you have a wife and kind of like
You
act
don't
like
have
you
a
don't
mother.
have a mother
Right.
anymore.
Right.
Your
Right.
mom's not your mom
Yeah.
anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're gonna focus a little bit, and I'll throw it to you, of just like the importance of that early married, newly married, thinking through life, not just using your days to have fun, but thinking about, what do you want your life to look like in 10 years, 30 years, 50 years, and how does that potentially relate to family,
Mm-hmm.
your parents, your spouse's
Yeah.
parents, your siblings,
Yeah.
um, that's kind of wide open there, but we can just start
Yeah, so
chatting.
my thoughts, this is absolutely true. Like, just case in point, planning a church in a community, family-oriented town like Waco is so different than planning a church in an urban, highly mobile town or city, right? For this very reason, in an urban mobile area, a lot of young people, they're making quick decisions for themselves, and maybe their spouse are talking and they make a quick decision on churches. But I noticed soon as I came to plant a church here that it wasn't just a decision between a husband and wife, it was now they had kids.
Mhm,
And so they were making decisions for their whole family.
mhm,
And that required slower decisions. So planning a church here involved the whole family getting involved in the move to join this church. Case in point, dear friends of ours, the Tandys.
mhm,
Uh, he initially we met. He started coming. He came for a long time by himself. Then all of a sudden, his wife would show up, and then kids started showing up, and then 2 years later, maybe they joined the church.
mhm,
All that to say, what we're talking about is absolutely true. When you're a young person, a young single you're married with your wife, you're very free and you're
mhm,
very quick to pick up and move, and that's a good time to be doing that kind of stuff
mhm,
and thinking through things. So, what we're saying is do it, take that freedom, enjoy it, but also start thinking about what's next.
mhm,
Take your freedom to start thinking about, okay, what happens when we do have kids, and where do we want to be in 5 years, vocationally,
mhm,
missionally? What part of the country do we want to live in? What about our parents and siblings and extended? What do we want that and those relationships to look like? Um, I think that that first year, I think we were jokingly saying, even in the Bible, there's a reference to a priest's being set aside to devote fully to their wife that first year, uh, and to be thinking about those dynamics within the family to prepare you for the later years. So
mhm,
that's what I would do. I would say, take your freedom, enjoy each other, have lots of fun, do
mhm,
lots of good stuff, get to know each other, best friends, lovers. Um, and then at the same time, start having these real meaningful conversations about more significant things like children and where we're going to be and what's next.
mhm.
I think all of that is really, really important.
I think on the aspect of fun, this is one thing um, my wife and I look back on. We wish we'd have done more. Is like pre-kids, not knowing you just can't really know like how kids change your life.
Yeah.
Literally, like basically take your life and like swap it out with a whole new one. And I know
Uh,
I look back and I'm like, man, I wish we would have like had more
yeah.
fun and
Yeah.
just been like, we're in Waco, but like, hey, this weekend we're going down to Austin to dork around. We're going to
Yep.
Dallas. We're going here. We're
Yeah.
flying here. We're flying here, right? Where you don't have as much financial burden on you, especially a lot of times newly married, no kids. You have two incomes. You got more than enough money potentially. And I think like that's what I wish we would have done pre-kids is just like go have fun and kind of use those last fleeting moments of like high flexibility and freedom to have fun in that regard.
Hmm.
And I don't mean like just superficial fun, but like, hey, let's go see Europe. Like whatever it is, like whatever you can
Just
pull
be really
off and
intentional
afford.
about each other.
Yeah.
And do fun things together. Yeah, absolutely.
Even simple things like, hey, we've got this great museum in town or this museum
Yeah,
2 hours north. Like when you have kids, it's gonna be hard to go to that museum, like once you have your first baby, like, all right, you might get there in 20 years or something,
yeah.
So it's like go to that museum, go do these things, right? Have a good time. I think that that's valuable and helpful, especially as two people are living together, getting to know each other.
Mhm,
When you get married, you've got loads of confidence. Like we love each other, we're committed. It's
mhm.
awesome. It's going to be awesome.
Yep,
And obviously the stories range widely. You have people who talk about like the first year of marriage was the hardest ever.
sure.
That wasn't the case for me. So
Mhm,
it just is always going to depend. But I do think being able to maximize going like, hey, we're in this really new thing called marriage. Like, especially if you find these areas where it's like sandpaper, being like, it could help for y'all
Right.
to just take the weekend
Yes.
and go hang out at a
Yes.
pool, at a hotel,
Yes.
right? And just be together and, continue to get to know each other.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, I think that married couples, like one of the biggest holes of advice I think that I've seen is not reverse engineering your life to say, okay, if you're 25 and married,
Mhm.
whatever, what do you want your life to look like when you're 65 years old?
Right.
Um, and I think it's right and good to say I want it to look like I've got kids and my grown kids who were still in great relationship together,
Mhm.
and they've got kids.
Mhm.
Like I'll say it for me actually. Uh, and I would love it that every Sunday after church, we are all at my house or maybe one of their houses,
Mhm.
whatever, and we have a lunch and
Yeah.
it's normal.
Yeah.
Like a family reunion in that regard is like we do that every week
Yes.
and we're together. Now, why do I say that? Because you have to reverse engineer that and go, well, what does it take to get there? Well, like very practically speaking, we have to live in the same town.
Yeah.
If I wanted my life to look that way,
Yep.
right? Um, Now, here's the interesting thing about that is that, and I was saying this off camera, is that a lot of what I see now is with this whole like, you've got an immediate family, it's a blank slate, do your own thing.
Right.
Um, well, in
Right.
that regard, if you quote unquote do your own thing and you set your life up in a way to raise your kids far away from grandparents, far away from their uncles and aunts and cousins, because you're doing your own thing. I've got my own immediate family that comes first, and it not only comes first, but it's second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, and it's just the whole thing. You're actually teaching your kids that when they get married to do that to you
Yeah.
and to say you start your own thing and we're out of the picture.
Right.
But my guess is that most people with kids would say, "Oh, I would love if all my kids and grandkids live in the same town as me."
Mhm.
Okay, well, you need to think through that and think through if you don't live in the same town as your parents and you don't bring your kids over to their house a lot and you don't do lunches and whatever, that's what you're modeling for them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I think that that's a key thing that early
I think
married
that's good.
pre-kids
Mhm.
is you need to reverse engineer this. So one practical thing, I'll throw it back to
Yeah.
you. But one practical thing I think pre-kids is like think about where you want to live.
Right.
Ben Sass talked about Ben Sass took this to the extreme in his book Vanishing American Adult, which I think that like if you can read it, read it.
Mm.
It's just loads of wisdom on all these aspects. But he talked about like buy a grave site.
Mm.
Buy the plot where you're going to be buried, which seems crazy because
Mm.
he's like people go like how would I know I'm going to be buried here? But his point was commit.
Mhm.
Find a place, commit like we're here till we die kind of thing.
Mhm.
And I think that pre-kids is your
Good
last
time. Yeah.
fleeting days to think through
Yeah.
where do we want to in particular,
Mhm.
where do we want to have kids
Yeah.
and who do we want around us?
Yeah.
Um, and that's where you need to start thinking practically like, yeah, we want to be close to our parents,
Yeah.
And I know both sets of parents can be in different places, so you got to figure out,
Right.
does
And
that
then
mean we're
when
going
they
to
move to you or however, that kind of conversation is so, so important.
That's a good point. Having that conversation with them,
Yeah.
maybe husband's parents are in the same town and
Yep.
wife's parents are not. Like, would you guys be interested in moving here?
Yep.
Like we think we were hoping to have babies in the next year or two.
That's it.
But that's like the time. Those are your like fleeting months of flexibility to not just have
Mhm.
fun, but to plan and go like, because you see it like the second someone like gets pregnant, usually, it's in those times that they start thinking like, all right, we're moving. We're moving back
Yep.
to Michigan to get next to mom and dad.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but how much easier it is when you're not pregnant
Uh-huh.
and how much easier it is when you don't have a newborn to go, you know what, we're up and moving. We're moving
Yep.
back to home. We're moving back home where parents are
Yeah.
and we're setting our life up. And now's the time to figure out the career path, set up the jobs because we think we want to have kids here pretty soon.
Yeah.
And
What do you think has been like why has the the leave and cleave, which is good, right? form your own family. You come together, uh, you look to each other, best friends, lovers. Uh, but why has it moved in away from that, having that happen in a healthy way, to now kind of cutting ourselves
Mhm.
off from the rest of your family? Because it's so, now that we're talking about this, I'm like, it's very rare that people are even in touch with their siblings
Mhm.
when they start getting into middle
Yeah.
age.
Yeah.
It's very rare that they even talk to them
Yeah.
or see them. And uh, I just want I just started thinking about that. I wonder, what
Yeah.
is that push? I know for us and our dynamics is, no family is, every family is messy. Every family has sinful people. Um, but you're wanting to relate redemptively to
Mhm.
your family, just like you want to relate redemptively to your spouse and
Mhm.
to your children, which means you're the chief of sinners. You need Jesus. Your spouse is a sinner and needs Jesus. Your children are sinners
Mhm.
that need Jesus. Your parents are sinners that need Jesus. Uh, why have we lost that?
Right.
Why have we lost the sense of a redemptive marriage, a redemptive family, and a redemptive extended family,
Mhm.
to where now we isolate and separate? There's a popular book. It was like Borders or Boundaries or something like that.
Boundary. Yeah.
Boundaries, that
Yeah.
everybody started
Yeah.
talking about boundaries,
Yeah.
and everything became toxic. And
Yeah.
it seems to me like it's this subterfuge attack on the family,
Yeah.
which is kind of a
Yeah. Yeah.
weird thing. I'm
I
grasping to
wonder
figure out the ideological, biblical, what happened.
I can't really speak to like the American history stuff, but I know people talk a lot about the Industrial Revolution, like splintering
Mhm.
things, and I'm sure like there's even um the ease of travel. I mean back in the day you didn't just go like when I grow up, I'm going to do this career and you know what? I'm just going to hop on the jet and move, to
Dubai.
California. Like if
Right.
someone had moved to California, it was like they'd sit with their family and be like, some of you are going to die.
Mm.
Are we sure we want to go?
Yeah.
Right. I
Right.
always joke that the only reason someone lives in Waco, the only reason is
Yeah.
because they were trying to get to San Diego and like their
Yeah,
kid or their
nobody intentionally comes to
no,
Waco.
no, they were
Nobody.
they were going through Waco
Yes,
and they were trying to cross the Brazos and like
and got stuck.
little Timmy died
Mhm.
and they were like, "Well, we live here now because we're staying next to his grave." That's the
Mhm.
only reason anybody lives here.
Yeah.
Point is that like I think travel and all that makes it easy to just like people can just go. Like I can just up and move easy and I can get anywhere I want in like a day,
Hmm.
the whole world. Like I think that that helps people feel super mobile, right? You're also connected via the internet.
Yep.
You could be like, I literally have friends. I met them in we East Coast, West Coast, met at college, became great friends. We're still connected via the internet. And
Mhm.
now I'm just gonna up and like move to them because it seems fun. I
Mhm.
think that splinters people, right? I do think that where I'm always interested is like in the church.
Yeah.
That's where I'm like, yeah, I know
Culture.
outside the church it's
Sure.
crazy. I think I see it in the church though, and I don't quite understand it, but I do wonder if sometimes it has to do with like churches. Churches, number one, experience that. They have all these people from all these places, and then they create these like small groups and like not saying that it's malicious,
Right.
but it's like from the church's leadership's perspective, like the best thing that we could see in our church is these killer small groups,
Yeah.
which are really like what we're trying to actually do is create little
Families.
families.
Yeah.
And the problem is your parents um, are a part of a different denomination.
Yep.
And maybe even when you tell them things about practices at your church, they're like,
What?
"What?"
Yeah.
And so what happens is the pastors are having to protect their little system
Mhm.
from the parents and grandparents
Oh,
because we're trying to create our
yeah.
own hyper unique culture and system of how to do life.
Which
That's what
is
that's what
which
I
is right.
which is the right way,
Right.
right? That's what I've seen is like the small group model whenever it burst onto the scene like in
You're
the
right.
90s has become this like beast, and it has incredible value,
Mhm.
especially in a mobile society
Yep.
where so many people don't live by family.
Disconnected, yep.
That's great,
Right.
but where it can become a little bit, negative, or a lot
Mhm.
of bit negative, is I think almost like protecting, like, my parents and my family don't understand what we do here in our Christian practices, and so that leads to being like, yeah, just kind of like keep them at arm's length.
Yeah.
And what I would say is I'd go, if your parents are these faithful Christians for the last like 60 years and they kind of like turned an eye at you when you said that y'all do this, you should be like, wait, why?
Why? Absolutely.
Wait, why? Is that weird? Did
Yes.
y'all not do this? Did y'all not do small groups 60 years ago? Did you not do this
Yeah.
XYZ 60 years ago? And why not? Wait
Yeah.
a minute. What, tell me more about that, dad.
Right.
Right? My pastor's 35. You're 65. You know, you have 12 grandkids. He has 3 kids,
Yeah.
under middle school age. Like, I'm just going to assume you have more wisdom. I'll at least start there,
Yeah.
but we don't, right? We
No.
assume
Very suspicious.
we're suspicious. Anyway, that's kind of my long-winded, like, but here's what I do know, regardless of the mechanics, I do know that what the end result is, which is this, like, leave and cleave,
Yep.
start your own thing.
Yep.
And my thing is I want to go, hey, you realize you're teaching your kids to do the same thing to you.
Yeah.
So be prepared to live in a state, in a city with no one, because you taught your kids there is no value to live near you. There's no value, right?
Mhm.
So be prepared to be alone.
Yeah.
Actually be prepared to move, because what's going to happen is you're going to be like, well, they live here, so we got to go there.
Yeah.
I know for me and my family, and even culturally, it's like I want us to go back to this thing of like my kids, this kid's a black belt in jujitsu
Mhm.
because dad did jujitsu and I
Mhm.
fell in love with it. And this kid's a home builder because dad taught me everything about that. And
Mhm.
this kid's in this, and I know that I'm going to have a kid or two that's like a rocket scientist, and it's like
Right.
dad did not help me with that at all. Um
Uh-huh.
but my goodness, how badly would I love, again, it is normal. We're in Waco,
Yeah.
my in-laws and parents, Dallas and Austin.
Yeah.
And I still to this day, maybe I'll have this low grade fever of like, I feel like I screwed it up somehow, like I we're close, but I don't like it.
You're in between both of them.
I know, which is
Yeah.
like the best to me, I consider like the best of the negative situation. Cause really what I want is all of us together,
Well,
you
let's
know?
just if you're in Texas, you are all together.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
But
Texas
anyway,
forever.
that's long-winded, kind of just, I guess my only point for this podcast is like reverse engineer your
Yeah.
life. And I think that most people would say, wow, it does actually seem amazing to think about like a Sunday lunch table after church. And like it's a
Mhm.
huge table of
Mhm.
grandparents, me and my adult siblings, the grandkids,
Yeah.
the cousins getting into all
Yes.
crazy sorts of whatever.
Yes.
And that's not our once a year family reunion. That's like every Sunday.
Yeah.
And so I would go right now, pre kids,
Mhm.
figure it out, because once you have kids, like a pastor once said to me, it's like a grenade goes off in your living room.
Mhm.
Like it's fog of war. It's like, what's going on? And there's no like going back.
No.
It's just on. Like you've been given a new life,
Yep.
and like,
And then 18 years go by
yeah,
and you're weeping when you're taking them to school or
right,
whatever.
right,
Yeah, no, it's very, very quick. And I would highly encourage all of that. Have a vision for what you want your family to look like,
right.
and where do you want to be when you're older, when you have grandkids. What do you want those dynamics to look like? And I guess I would push just to say, why don't we kind of reclaim a redemptive community with our family? And that's why I say start now with your marriage in terms of talking. The best thing I think that is said and can be said, like in a premarital talk or premarital time, is learning to communicate. It's
Mhm,
not, you can change the conversations all the time, but if you never learn to really just honestly speak the truth in love and communicate with each other and have those difficult conversations and push into those areas that, you just kind of wonder about and you don't want to get or hurt someone's feelings or hurt your spouse's feelings or get your feelings hurt, put all that aside and
mhm,
start having those conversations. Just
mhm,
learn to communicate. And so if you start that way, you can start talking about all this other stuff is
mhm,
easy.
mhm.
If you start talking about, like what we were jokingly and even thinking through the unnecessary pains that happen in marriage, you start talking through intimacy and how often each person wants to do this and have plan.
Mhm.
Those kind of conversations are incredibly helpful.
Mhm.
If you're able to have those conversations, you're able to start talking about a lot of the stuff that people don't talk about. Let's talk about our family. Let's talk about Uncle Fred. Why is Uncle Fred so difficult? Well, let's bring Uncle Fred into the family at this particular time,
Right.
and this is how we're going to do it. And your siblings, my siblings, their cousins. Do we want them to see each other?
Yeah.
Do we want them to be friends? Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right.
So let's make that happen. What do I
Right.
want those Sundays to look like? To have everybody come over and
Mhm.
Christmas and okay, and then maybe your spouse has 5 siblings and you have 5 siblings. I would be thinking through, all right, we need a family reunion every year somewhere.
Mhm.
And it might not be that we go to where we're at, but we all say we're going to go to this place and it's going to be do you want to do things like that? Absolutely, I would say.
Mhm.
Do them
Mhm.
and think about them now and think
Yeah.
about again that you are uh, God gave you this family. This is a redemptive community. This is
Mhm.
the church.
Mhm. I think next episode what we can do is talk about having kids. Like you just had kids,
Yeah,
and that whole baby stage and stuff. I think there's a lot there that's helpful to prep people on. Um, but I think that's where we can go next. I think I'll say on that too, like I think you would agree. The whole kind of point of what we're implying here is also like have kids sooner than later.
yeah,
There's not like some law that's like you gotta, you can't use protection and you gotta have kids immediately and that sort of thing. But I would say like if you're debating between like should we get pregnant year one or wait 4 or 5 years. I'm like, year 1,
yeah,
like, sooner than later.
yep,
And again, reverse engineer it. Do you wanna be in a wheelchair when your grandkids are young
yeah,
because you waited,
yeah,
right? Or do you wanna be, like, a young
hmm,
someone's like,
yeah,
"Do you have kids? Do you have any kids?" And you're like,
yeah,
"Dude, I've got 5 grandkids." And they're like,
right.
"Really? How are you so young?" It's
Uh-huh.
like, "I don't know. We just kind of did the way God designed it.
Yeah,
We had kids young." So I'd say have kids sooner than later, but I think that takes us into we can talk a little bit about that, like timing, that sort of thing, but then also, just those early years of babies and the
hmm,
chaos and the, like, you know,
yeah,
fog of war and
yeah. And then the transition. So in the early years, it's like heavy physically draining,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then
exactly.
you start moving into middle school and high school, and now it's emotional and spiritual
Yeah,
draining.
yeah.
It's different.
And then
But
your
yeah, it'll be good to talk through that stuff.
hair goes gray,
Yeah,
and then you die, you know?
so they say.
Alright, until next time, peace.
Peace.